Hey everyone, RogueGold here, welcome back to The Division 2. And today we are taking a quick break from all of the coverage and everything about Year 6 Season 2 and the new update for the game, because I've got a bit of a news roundup to deliver you. Over the past week or so, there have been a few different stories developing that certainly pertain directly to The Division and the continuation of the franchise with The Division 3 in the future. And so, as I know you all like to stay up to date on what is happening there, I didn't want to let this stuff get lost in the shuffle again with everything happening with the new update. So, we're going to tackle it all in this video, and I'll fill you in on the new developments that we're seeing. So, without further ado, let's get right to it. Alright, now the first thing we're taking a look at here is a post recently made by the Star Wars Outlaws team. Now you might be wondering, how does this relate to The Division? Well, Star Wars Outlaws was one of the other big AAA projects in development at Massive Entertainment. It was the development team for it was largely comprised from the old Division team. And if you've been following along over the past few months and years, this game has certainly had a big impact on the Division franchise's trajectory. So they posted and said, Outlaws incoming transmission from our development team. Click below for an article as our creative director, Drew Reckner, takes you through our thoughts and plans for the development of Outlaws. Now, this is very notable because Drew Reckner was not always the creative director on Outlaws. And if we jump on over to this article that they link, it says, to speak more on this topic is Drew Reckner, who has recently taken the helm of Star Wars Outlaws as creative director. Now, why this is all significant is because the old creative director on Outlaws was Julian Garrity. And if we go to the article that announced the Division 3 last year, it plainly says Julian is returning to the brand, meaning the Division he helped usher into the world. Garrity has been appointed executive producer of the Division brand and will make the move once Star Wars Outlaws, a game he is currently overseeing as creative director, has shipped. So, the reason I bring all of this up is because it confirms, by this post from the Outlaws team, that Julian has indeed made the move and is now serving as executive producer, as we speak, on the Division brand. This is further confirmed because I sent a tweet out to him, maybe 2 weeks ago, just asking, quick question from the Division community, any chance you're able to give us an update on your transition into the executive producer role for the franchise? I'm sure you've got your plate full, we're just eager for some news, excited for the future, cheers. And Julian did end up responding, which I was very appreciative of. He said, hey, super happy to when the time is right. Give me a couple of months to get the lay of the land. So, like I said, this confirms a couple of big things. Even though Julian has not updated his Twitter bio here, as you can see, he is currently serving as executive producer on the Division franchise. And what I kind of anticipate to see moving forward, given what he said right here, is that probably around the time that we get the DLC's release, which is currently slated for about March of 2025, if you go by the in-game calendar for when Year 6 Season 2 is set to end, that is probably when you're going to see Julian step into a bit more of a public light in his executive producer role. I imagine maybe we'll start getting updates on the wider Division universe then, stuff like Resurgence, stuff like the film, the Netflix film, if that is really still in development and going. That's just pure speculation on my end, but given what he's saying here and given what the executive producer role is meant to be for the franchise, which is just kind of overseeing the overall cohesion of everything, that's kind of my guess as to what we're going to see in the next few months. So yeah, that's the first story. Also, I have to give a quick little shout out and congrats to Drew, because Drew used to be someone on the Division team. Maybe if you've been with the franchise for a while, you remember when he was back on State of the Game. I always really like Drew. I think he's got a great attitude and obviously development insight into the stuff. And he was the creative director on Avatar for a little while. Now he's on Star Wars, so he's just jumping to every IP over in Massive. Happy for him. That is just our first story, however, because now I want to jump on over to Massive's website, because we seem to have gotten a bit of an insight as to what their plan as a studio is moving forward. One of the big questions that have been raised specifically since Avatar released last year was, what is Massive going to do as a studio moving forward? Because they had been, for the past several years, working on two AAA titles in conjunction with Avatar and Star Wars. And now with those both out and with the Division 3 confirmed, a lot of us were wondering, are they going to go back to solely focusing on one game with the Division 3? Are they still going to keep the two, AAA teams intact and work on two different titles? We seem to have our answer, because if you look at their job board here, there is a lot for an unannounced project. I'll click even more jobs, and you'll see that we have unannounced, senior animation programmer, technical animation director, unannounced lead AI designer, engine technical director, a lot of very senior and key roles. And they actually did post about this recently as well, saying we're looking for those roles for an unannounced project. Learn more and apply below. And we know pretty certainly that this project is not the Division 3, because you can see that the Division 3's listings are posted separately here with its own title under the project name. So to me, this pretty much fully confirms that they are indeed going to be working on a separate big AAA game alongside working on the Division 3. So that's what you should probably expect moving forward. This is not too impactful to us on the day-to-day, right? We're not going to, by the time the Division 3 launches, we're probably not going to notice whether or not it had been worked on solely or in conjunction at Massive, because the way Ubisoft works, they pair up like 12 different studios to work on these things anyway, right? We're going to have plenty of support for the Division 3, but I did just think it was interesting to note that Massive does indeed seem to be leading in the direction of having 2 AAA projects in development at once, one of those being the Division 3. And then the final little mini story that I just wanted to mention was that there is actually a hiring happening as well for the Division 2 right now, that being for a community developer. Now again, this is not too impactful for us on the day-to-day, but you don't often see them hiring for the Division 2 anymore, and so specifically for one at Massive, not even at the Bucharest team, that's pretty cool to see. So hopefully this helps grow the community team, helps them be even more proficient and consistent in their communication with us. And I would hope, and in my mind, that this is all kind of in preparation for the DLC coming up. Obviously, that is going to be a big period for the game overall, and that transcends to all of these other things like social media, where they need to be communicating a lot, doing a lot of marketing, doing a lot of speaking with the community on what they think, what different issues are that are cropping up in the game. So yeah, bottom line, it's cool to see that they're hiring for a Division 2 role after all this time. And there you have it, my friends. Those are 3 quick stories that have been going on in the world of the Division that I figured a lot of you would want to know about. Again, probably most excitingly is the fact that Julian Garrity has begun his tenure as executive producer of the Division franchise. I really hope that that allows us to get some more regular updates and communication on the wider Division franchise as a whole. But of course, that really means that the Division 3 is full steam ahead. I mean, he's not directly on that development team, and that's what the article stated last year, but he's overseeing everything. And so with some of those roles on Massive's job board getting picked up for the Division 3, yeah, it's only a matter of time until they're really going to get into the full production here. Any and all thoughts you might have after going through these stories and seeing what's going on, I would love to hear about it down below. Are you excited to see Julian stepping into that role? What do you think about the fact that Massive does seem to be pursuing an additional AAA game to develop alongside the Division 3? And as kind of a side note, what do you hope that game would be? Do you want it to be a sequel to something like Avatar or Star Wars? Would you want to see Massive take on an all-new IP? Let me know. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. If you want to see more coverage on the Division 2 and the Division franchise at large like this, then I would be appreciative of you clicking that subscribe button if you haven't already. But that is going to do it for me today, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. RogueGold. Ow.